Hello, welcome back to My Perfume. I'm Emily, here with Felix and Twixie. And today I'm going to talk about how I use fragrance to process grief. I had a very close friend, my best friend, pass away recently, very recently, which is why I haven't posted in a while. Been dealing with some grief myself. So I have a little method, I guess, that I use fragrance during times when things are really difficult. It's not just grief, it could be anything that I don't particularly want to have a scent association with my favorite fragrances. So memory and scent are really closely linked. You create more memories when you have a scent associated with them, I found. And if you can't smell anything, then it makes the creation of memories more difficult. There's a close link in the brain between fragrance and, or the sense of smell, basically, and your generation of memories. So when I am in a negative place, grieving, or just really unhappy for any reason, I will pull out fragrances from my samples, my little sample collection, that I either don't like or that I like well enough that they're not going to bother me to smell them on me, but I won't ever be acquiring them. I won't purchase them for various reasons. And so in that way, I don't create a scent memory associated with all of my favorite perfumes, my favorite fragrances, that is negative. And instead I kind of encapsulate, I call them disassociative fragrances. So I will not associate my my bad times with my good fragrances. I basically feel like I put the fragrances I don't like as much, or that are just, you know, temporary, I'm going to only have a sample of them at one point on during that difficult phase, and then it sort of like bottles them up. And that, while sometimes I will use fragrances I like and, you know, don't plan to purchase for some reason, and other times I will use fragrances I don't like. And I've actually found that if I use a fragrance I don't like during a difficult time, and I haven't done this while I was actually grieving, but when I was just like going through a breakup or something, then I found I sometimes will learn to like that fragrance a little bit. Not enough maybe to buy it, but enough to say, okay, you know, it's associated with this difficult time and I got through that time, and so it almost makes the association a little bit more positive, and me like the scent a little more, if that makes any sense. I'm not sure if it does. So in this past week or so, I, you know, was grieving very intensively, and I went into my samples and I pulled out a few samples that had some sort of meaning to me in terms of my friend that passed. Just the names, you know, I reached in, the first one I grabbed was just intuitive, and I picked up, doesn't really matter, these are just samples that I probably won't buy for one reason or another, but they weren't fragrances that I disliked. So I enjoyed having a scent. I have some sort of distraction, you know, having some sort of sensory component to my experience that maybe is, you know, something to do other than just be really upset. So the first one I pulled out was Alien Sun Essence, because my friend that passed, you know, is now the light, the sun, and he was kind of like an alien because he was so cool and one of a kind. We all are in our way, of course, but so that was the first one, and this lasted me during the most intensive initial part of my grief. And then it's gone and it's retired, and I haven't decided whether I'm going to toss this little sample, empty sample thing away or not. I think I probably will. It's Mugler Alien Sun Essence. Not a bad fragrance. It's just not one that I'm going to purchase. The next one I picked up was the Exceptional, Because You Are, and I thought the name was appropriate, and the reason I wouldn't purchase this particular fragrance is because the longevity is really poor, ironically. So Exceptional was the second fragrance that I wore during my grieving process. And it's like you're bottling up all of these negative memories and associating with the scent that you don't need to smell anymore. So you don't have to go back there unless you want to. And when I do smell it again, I feel kind of gross. So I don't think I will, you know, I've just used it for now. Things started to get a little better after that second sample. And so I picked up one that I actually have thought about purchasing and enjoyed a little more. So it was kind of a little bit more of a pick-me-up, and this is the Aquilina Gold Sugar. I actually tried to buy this once and it didn't get delivered. I don't know if I paid for it and it never came. It's not very expensive. I think it's less than like $30, so it wasn't really been out of shape about it, but I decided I probably won't buy this fragrance anyway. And this is Gold Sugar. It's, you know, a sweet and dear friend. Reminds me of the name Gold Sugar. And then next, my mom grabbed this one, and this is Cocoa Woods. And this was particularly sweet because my friend's nickname was Brown Bear, and so cocoa is like brown and woods are where bears live. So Cocoa Woods is what I've been wearing up until today, and I think it's gone now. So I'm going to go on to my next sample, which is the Bentley Momentum Intense. And this is more of a masculine fragrance. It's a fine fragrance, I don't mind it. It's just too masculine for me, so I'm associating this with my grieving process, and I'm actually pretty far along. I feel like I've gotten to the point where I've accepted, you know, that he's dead but not gone necessarily. He lives on in here, and you know, in some way in the energy fields, just with different capabilities than the living now. So that, my friends, is how I use fragrance to process grief. Go into my sample bins, pick out the ones either that I don't like, or if I do like, that I know I will only have a sample of ever, and I associate those sad and difficult memories with these fragrances to kind of lock them away and not associate these hard times with my favorite fragrances. And then once I've gotten to the point where I'm feeling better, I'm feeling more strong and happier, then I start to reach for my favorite fragrances again to kind of amplify that experience. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and that if you have grief that you have to process, that you might find some comfort in this method perhaps. And I hope that it finds you well, and take care. Bye-bye.